thank you a lot for coming out and supporting us. Before I go ahead and get started, Mia wanted to say a few words, and also, just so you guys know, there are going to be a couple videos going on, so like, don't get up and run away just because things stop a little bit. It's a video. But here we go. Here's Mia.
This will be it. Hi. Thank you guys all for coming. I'm really excited that there are this many people here. I feel privileged to stand here and to have gotten the chance to be part of organizing this reading for the second time. Each time I revisit the work of Akilah Oliver, an incredible teacher, activist, and poet, it becomes clear to me how indivisible the emotional, political, and theoretical are in poetry that creates change. The impact of Akilah's work at the New School continues to be substantial. In her class, Akilah asked her students not only to engage poetic texts, but also the criticism and conversations that surround them. We discussed the intimate link between gender, race, feminism, sexuality, and language. Through this discussion, she invited us and continues to invite us to join in essential and often marginalized conversations. We hope to continue them at this reading and in the work of the Experimental Writing Collective. It's our mission to keep contemporary experimental poetry present in our education and to engage our peers, professors, and mentors in this discussion. In this way, we can honor Akilah Oliver and the work she gives us. As job security in academia becomes increasingly unstable, it is very important right now for us as students to work to protect our professors as artists, scholars, and human beings. I'd like to thank the poets reading tonight a lot, as well as the other organizers of this event, Z Whitesides and Jamila Wimberly. I'm also really grateful for the ongoing support of the Belladonna Collaborative, Rachel Levitsky, Kara Benson, Emily Skillings, Julian Berlasky, Crystal Lingle, and Carl Leon. Thank you guys so much. I hope you love it.
Miles. Eileen Miles is from Boston and moved to New York in 1974 to be a poet. Eileen has published 18 collections of poetry, fiction, and nonfiction, most recently Snowflakes, Different Streets, and Inferno, a poet's novel. Also, The Importance of Being Iceland, travel essays and art, for which she received Warhol/Creative Capital Art Writers Grant. She is a 2012 Guggenheim Fellow. She lives in New York. Please welcome Eileen Miles.
Hi. Thanks so much for inviting me to be in this beautiful event. Akilah was my friend, and I guess I'm simply in awe at being in to be reading in an event on her behalf when it still feels like that, you know, when somebody leaves, that puncture, that the world sort of closes up, but sort of it still feels like, why is she gone? And it seems intolerable and strange. Simply because she was, well, a very warm and smart and funny and hot woman, you know? And so I guess she's still here in some way, and I'm proud to be reading on her behalf. And now I'm like a pantoum or whatever. We want to say things over and over again. So I'll read some new stuff and maybe end with one poem from Snowflake. And war. And war. It's a wispy. Maybe I'm too. It's a wispy white font. Green building, not a poem, but a photograph. The tree flourishing to its right, tipping to shake and tingle on the sunny day. I growl at each man who sits down at my long table. This is Whole Foods. He climbed up there at night and in wispy script foretold a July afternoon in here. Was it even there? We fold our experiences, distributing these words, and others who are also trying to shake the language tree receive our letters and come. I watch your glowing backs when you were so young, late at night with lipstick. We shuddered till you went. Years later, you came back selling something. I picked things up in this long, bright room, scrambled the words so their hopeless order has landed in a comic book so far away. The violence of porn was the mortar, killing kids. I always go to Whole Foods when I'm supposed to work, and then it just seems like such a great... I still feel like the poet moment is kind of when you're supposed to do something else. Like I always think of poetry as sort of a kind of thievery. Wet Paris. A little dog afraid of lightning stands up to speak. Hey, Mutt, be brave. I felt an empty spot with all the men standing outside the bookstore. Notre Dame was never so brave. And the river, have you ever been here before? Yes, I was when I was a kid. Wasn't Paris just a man who loved a woman too much? That's how the story goes. I am starving and the traffic is slow. I've missed the whole brouhaha about conceptualism because I am sleepless and corny. Isn't that enough? Must I lay down my heart? I brought my chalice right up to the fountain. Hi, Alice, and I drank. This is called Walter Miles. For Leopoldine Corps. Now I'm just praying that the phone doesn't ring. I'll just unplug and leave the chocolate bar in my pocket, explaining the performance of God to Joan as if she needs it. The silver card case slipping out of my ass pocket, the same ass that was calling somebody as it was walking up the stairs. The city retained its luridity. Tonight, all day, like the floor of my apartment, retains the shit stains of Walter Miles, dog I loved for 3 weeks and 3 days, uttering his name now secretly, greeting Nike in the street. Hello, Nike, Walter Miles, giving me his best dumb grin. It's like a violation to a poet to have a dog and give the dog away and see it be renamed, because I think the name of the dog is like the poem of the dog. I wanted to be carried, so I took a train, thinking of Chloe wandering around under the earth like Frank O'Hara on the beach. Thinking of Akila lying down, it seems shocking she died with Judith Butler on her mind. But we don't really know. The house I lived in is gone. The house I'm living in is always changing. I carry a tiny dog coat in my pocket. In my dream, the opportunity to sing with the Beatles was coming up, inserting my band into theirs. And ours was chiefly composed of red, or redness. I propose we all jump into the water, that beach right down there, and enthusiastically I woke up. How could being just a little bit more dogless be the source of all the rooms changing in my house? Suggesting we just plunge in. I knew I was off the charts by announcing my dream. 2 women do that and all the men walk away. Is that what Aristophanes meant? Worse than not having sex with them, I started talking about having sex with myself, loving my own mind. If heterosexuality means anything other than me denying the existence of my own dream, I'd like to hear about that something else and call that love. I call that war. Years of silent repression of female dreaming, women looking like men but dreaming they're women inside other women dreaming that. What are men dreaming except that all women are stupid and loving them? If you're dreaming something different, tell me your dreams about that. I am doomed to love you, that's for sure, because you laugh when I say, to a man, a woman is just a throne turned upside down, a repository of his kingliness. My kingliness does not require a throne. It is a throne. I love you because of your similar self-love, and it makes me laugh. Perhaps I can have some chocolate while this is going on. Will not break the spell. I no longer live in the sight of tremendous dogfights. Certainly, I could be kinder. Black Swan was a moral film. Wouldn't you say? I'm a giant fan of Darren Aronofsky, who has the name of a dentist, and whose films are fountains of power, fountains of gender. I dreamed that Judith Butler once suggested my girlfriend liked my phallus better than hers. This is true apropos Aquila's death. It turned out my girlfriend was much more in love with her own phallus than anyone knew. In one dream, he was madly counting. In another, he tore the refrigerator apart, jumped into blackness, jumped into white. What else do you want a movie to do? If I had the time, I'd make a film, It Gets Worse. That's what I'd call it. If he can lie, so can I. Because there's nothing better than knowing so much, seeing that look in her eyes, Bright days wandering around the block with a dog, breaking out, tossing some water into a pot and putting in not so much cereal, tossing some water into a pot and putting in so much cereal, not knowing what the formula is. We dare it. How long will I be boiling chicken? It's a little red inside. The dream is the perfect object because you can only imagine its contours. You're scraping around its curves like a giant woman lying outside. She is enormous, naked, and you are blind. But if you stay with her perimeter, no, her mounds leading you higher and higher, her awesome neck so sensitive, her ear, no ear has ever been less constructed to hear, but to allow the midgets of myth to tickle, to bite and gnaw. If you can extrapolate some meanings from this, like those people who wound up going to parties either dressed like Gertrude Stein or Susan. She was just a big old man who went to Harvard. I mean, they probably burned the witches right there before the lynching began. Same tree. Stupidly, at Jill's memorial, I began discussing the publications of her letters with Ingrid. What was I thinning? That's right, the K is missing. Small, ghostly dog wrapped in a sheet, eyes glimmering. Everyone grinned when I went back to the restaurant and picked my silver card case off the floor. The name is Paladin. Never say anything bad about anyone from Harvard. That obsesses me. How could you say anything good? Or is that just implied? The one more thing was single moms, and there was another thing. You're losing the dream all the time. That's why we love it. We thought it was the dream that was both vulgar and important. It is the search. So he sent a letter to the addresses of each of the women who had died, the exact address, and that was enough. You were waiting for somebody timeless, but everything only happens inside time. One envelope in the pile has a stamp and you can find it. That she got a grant for being a poet doesn't mean that she's one and you're not. You'll get a donut too. But what was it? Janine spoke about writing so much and so fast that it wasn't writing at all. It was the most beautiful thing I ever heard. You can see the pages in the light every day, notebooks full of that stuff. The blonde girl writing, her passion pouring on the page, and we can't read it. That was her dream, to be doing that, smiling years later and telling us her crime. Utterly unreadable. No text at all, just script. Pure sex, sweat, effort, time. She said, just to live, to have all of you around me now, just the fact that it gets cold again, it makes me hungry. There's nothing wrong with that. Climbing all over her naked bod. He was the man tied up, and they were small. And it's interesting that he also proposed eating babies. I mean, why not? Say she raised them to kill them. I say they live to die. We watch them dying here, whether we go to the ceremony or not. That a king learn to speak somehow is not such a wonderful thing. That a woman learn to die is... Let me do the end again. That a king learn to speak somehow is not such a wonderful thing. That a woman learn to die is. Car notebook. Walking down the street in her office. She's in the middle of cleaning. He's picking his nose. She locks her salon tightly to protect her from the street it watches. And I thought, just as my stories are redundant, so are your expressions. Head bob, because the toll keeper liked our song. I wanted to live in that world. This is what they mean by traffic. Can I show you my year? A branch fell and a car hit it and the leaves scattered. You got Ringo all charged up and somebody's delivering pizza at the next exit. A dog doesn't need to go to college. The shape of this journey is never the same. Each part bloats and shrinks each time. I'm hungry and I can't think, so my intellect is base. George Harrison changes, not half a tank, mountainous trees. And one final poem, and it's called Paint Me a Penis. It was a request to a female artist who could do anything. If the best thing the world discovered today is that at the inside of the universe is a cat, I love your braids. I love your peaceful eating. I hate that the sum total of the schedule was sadness. Did you read the schedule? No. I'm jealous. If he used the same words over and over again in plays and movies, and commencement addresses. Is that wrong? Is art wrong? What if art is wrong? Is there only one sun? Some planets have two. When the rain was pouring, I wanted to be in here, silent with you, in the dog's beady black gaze, in the room with the sleeping dog, with you leaving the room. I've stopped the rain. I've silenced you. I think the story was that one woman had gotten the painting from the other when they were dating, but she never paid for it, and then she moved out. The painting sat in the second floor window, and the painter saw it and demanded it back. No. So the painter wrote, "Marie O'Shea, give me my painting back," and put it in the window opposite. She's a mess. We call her cunt face, twat. When it blasted, I asked you to put your headphones on. The dog's wheezing. I think smack in the middle of that time was a virus, and it gave itself freely to everyone. We learned that everything was related to everything else. Just as everything was getting more separate and no longer a simple bowl of fruit, everyone was dying of the same thing. Not everyone. Later, when they hit the buildings, it was just like everyone in the city felt it. Not the same. We felt the shake. The request in the air was, how do we all feel it now? It wasn't the same. It was like you kept breaking off another square of the bar and tasting it. He came running into the room. He was moaning, and now he just stares, and the rain starts up again. I've never been invited to one meeting. Do they have them? I remember the time I was invited, and we went around the room saying how we came to be there. I was invited, and everyone stared, and they never let me know when they were meeting again. She wore a yellow dress. Everyone's watching you. He stands in the doorway watching you eat. It stopped. I want the painting in the window. Yeah, and you can really ask her questions when you get her alone. And you were reading all the time, and you said it a lot, that you wanted one, which you don't remember. I guess I wanted one. Now some people in that mysterious time, there it goes again, decided to, in a very dedicated way, begin talking about it because there wasn't enough of that, the part that had waned. Otherwise, you could just take it off the walls, you could go to funerals and get fucked. You could recite it so that all they saw was you. Huge numbers of them banded together, marching slowly into the room. This footage of us dancing. I wouldn't ask the stars to be quiet, but I'm closer to them now. She was so smart. I'm serious. I bet she'd make a good one. Since I didn't grow my own, I'd like to see what she'd make me. If he demands that no one tells theirs at the breakfast table, I think he probably pulls it out of his pajamas and slaps it on the table. Dreams to me are always receding. It's the only perfection. It's vanishing, stoking my appetite. So I'm drawing it for you as it becomes less the experience that happens as I'm resurrecting it for you. I'm making it for you. I'm asking her, make it for me. I'd like that. I'm putting it in real deep, out there where everyone is. Thank you.
Nick Von Kleist is a current senior at Eugene Lane College at the New School, where he studies literature, Chinese, and fine arts. Nick has been published online on the online zine Short, Fast, and Deadly in London, where he also did many readings at Woodburner. In New York, Nick has read at the Bow Wow Wow at the Poetry Power Center. Please welcome Nick Von Kleist.
Hi. So I never had Akila as a professor, but from what I've heard from everyone and what I've read of hers, I'm completely in awe. And she's been a great inspiration for a lot of my work, and one of the poems I actually have tonight. So I just have two poems. The first one is unnamed. There I stood, before long-stranded sand, like lace, so echo. Like lace, my knees were weak, and like moonbeams, hair crinkled, with the sand circling. The fur and pollen powder swirled, buzzed, like jets, and her hands swollen, sand like strands swarmed, doming us, casing us, tongues like mud, swollen. Lay and hands sweating, but his hair was nectar. Her body, laying cross-hatched, grain bullet shot, and the powder pollen waves, white and naked. Skin up, white as lone light that shone, but in the corner breast lay, and stomach hard, feel it. I fell, to my knees. And with bees around, and those around me in dark, I fell onto she, he, and those that flew. And hair like lace curled beneath me. Grown, I savor these memories into dreaming. Stomach in stirrups, and once again, in deep, relax, up. Out of body, its birth, like glass. And pushing, and like sand, the shots shoot my aim. And she, knees lock, straight, lightning strikes. And my sandy core stands around and whole crowded. Recline, and even a moment before this was waiting, thinking, dreams. Sand like steel, like silver, shaking, now its legs and toes. Cross-hatched hands tied, head up, river kneading outside. I'm cross-hatched closed, in, bound legs braced, lash closed, sand cradle, asleep, cracked and crisscrossed. Okay, and the second one is called Teddy. Walking in rolls. Watch it, nails. Floorboards are missing. White-capped old man, waiting. His verse is rotten, no albatross, just a peach. Carried past seas and sirens, staring, singing. Skin like leaves, up in flames and falling. Horn, caw, listen. It is that old man. But on land and running, I'm just an ass, behind, a nail through foot. Keep walking. Risen up from tombs, bored and down, bummed down, sit and glisten, spray, wash. Blood like crystals and crawling, your kiss I miss, thin and crumbling. Pregnant thoughts waiting for sun to rise and morning to rust, but you are to my lips, but not you, in that dream. Gulls crawl through ears and the sun lays mute. You caw. It was not you, but me in that dream, choking on orange peel prostate with head on chest, breathing your red hair. I am crying and pregnant. Not leaves, but this. Born through bark, not hardening. But it is both son, brother, and you could be my father, but you are not. You are nothing like Adonis. Yet, Yahweh, you sent me down, back, sea down, rust over my skin. Cast iron hand, and I am that old man, and my mouth is ether. But you see, my weaning chest is the wax moon, and in December fog beckons your return. But I grab dung and fling, because flung you are caught, stuck in web, but the floorboards are still missing, and you hush. Yes, hush. You're to my neck, and I yield hand over face to chin, neck, beard, and shoulder. You grab me on stomach, but I swing, and swung you reach down. We swim. Seaweed in necks, falling, sliming, swan necks open. Leaves fall, and your rough hands scratch my face. We smell of jasmine and anise. You grab my chest, my face, and shave. My legs, and shave. My ass, my feet, head, and shave. All I can reach is your beard, and it falls in my eyes. Let's keep walking. You taste better than orange peels. No, it's not that bed you had, just that rectangle. Upwards from bed in memory. Like lips moving, spitting, and are you a friend or a love? Wax waves rush up and out me. Floorboards are missing, but nails through on my toes.